free college football picks week 8. I'm Tony T here with our college football pick show here for Monday. Well, we've got, let's see, this for week 8, we have 53 games. We'll get you 8 of them here. We're going to do them in 6 parts, so this will be part 1, and we'll have 8 of the games for you. Before we get to just a couple things, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Free college football picks are updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports. We also have NFL, we have college football, NHL, European football, and NBA beginning on tomorrow, so it's a good time to subscribe. And also, if you would, support our channel, thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. Then visit Tony'sPicks.com, our multi-capper site showcasing top cappers in our industry. Click the link to the hot cappers and get signed up to one of our long-term passes. We use some of the hot cappers like Collins, Minnie's been hot, Ramon. Of course, you can hit the drop-down menu to select the sports. Click the link and get signed up to long-term passes. You'll find our premium picks at the top of the page. Free picks here are these drop-down menus. As you scroll, you can find here our premium picks that we offer. Our best bets, $15 pick, and 3-pack are right there. Some great offers there. So click those links and get signed up. A couple of things. Our promo code, you can save 20% off all premium pick packages. When you use the promo code TonyT at checkout, you can access our page by clicking the link in the description, clicking the All Cappers tab, and then get signed up. Also, love to hear from you guys, so post your picks in the comments below. Still looking for cappers to apply? Go to Tony'sPicks.com footer section to submit your form. And of course, every picks in podcast form, more convenient for you than watching the videos. You can go to our podcast, Tony's Picks Podcast, every pick in podcast form on all major platforms. All right, let's go ahead and let's get this one started. Indiana versus Rutgers, college football pick here for Saturday. Indiana fell to 3-4 after their 38-33 home defeat to Maryland. Hoosiers moved the football for 352 yards with only 37 rushing on 31 carries. Defensively, Indiana allowed 270 passing yards on 42 attempts. Missouri transfer quarterback Connor Bazelak completed 69% in defeat, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, and 7 yards per attempt. Now on the season, Bazelak, a career lows here, 54% completions, 5.6 yards per attempt. Rutgers 3-3 after their 14-13 home defeat to Nebraska. Scarlet Knights moved the football for 348 yards with only 115 yards on 38 carries. They blew a 13-0 halftime lead. Defense held the Cornhuskers to just 304 yards. Noah Vidal completed just 40% of his passes, 8.9 yards per attempt. The Scarlet Knights offense again struggling. Hoosiers running for only 2.7 yards per attempt. The play here will be Indiana Rutgers under 45. Cincinnati versus SMU, college football pick Saturday. Cincinnati improved to 5-1 with their 28-24 home win to USF. Bearcats gained 414 yards in the win, running successfully with 221 yards on 37 carries. To defend, the Bulls passed well but allowed 224 rushing yards on 34 carries. Eastern Michigan transfer Ben Bryant completed 71% of his passes in the win with 8.5 yards per attempt. Bryant had 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. On the year, Bryant has 66% completion rate with a career high 8.4 yards per attempt. Bearcats are coming off the bye and Bryant questionable. Backup Evan Prater has thrown a career 19 passes for Cincinnati. Now SMU, they go to 3-3 after their 40-34 home win to Navy. Mustangs offense produced 441 yards with 105 rushing on 21 carries. They did allow the midshipmen to run for 372 yards on 77 carries. Tanner Mordecai, a career high 74% completions in the win, 3 touchdowns and 12.4 yards per attempt. Year-to-date, Mordecai 61% completions, 8.5 yards per attempt. Here in this one, the play will be here on Cincinnati in this one. Akron versus Kent, college football pick. This one goes off here on Saturday. Akron 1-6 after their 28-21 home defeat to Central Michigan. Zips held only 287 yards running for 20 carries. And I'm sorry, they ran for 20 yards on 28 carries. Defensively, they struggled really against the run, surrendering 199 yards or rushing yards to the Chippewas on 45 carries. Now, DJ Irons did complete 66% of his passes in that game, 6.7 yards per attempt. On the season, Irons, he's really lifted up this program. 66% completions, 6.7 yards per attempt. Now, Kent, they're 2-5 after their 52-31 road defeat at Toledo. Golden Flashes gained 393 yards, running for 231 on 46 carries. They were outscored 24-0 in the second half. Kent allowed 493 yards to the Rockets, giving up nearly 5 yards a carry on the ground, and 263 passing yards on 22 attempts. Colin Scally, only 50% completions, a pick at a season low 6.2 yards per attempt. On the year, Scally, 60% completion rate, 8.6 yards per attempt. The Zips have covered 3 of 4 as DJ Irons has really improved the offensive efficiency for this team. Golden Flashes, they don't pressure the quarterback enough. Past 3 games, Kent allowing 10.2 yards per pass attempt. The player will be Akron at plus 19.5. Kansas versus Baylor college football pick Saturday. Kansas fell to 5-2 after their 52-42 road defeat at Oklahoma. Jayhawks defense were crushed here, gave up 701 yards. They surrendered 298 rushing on 57 carries, 403 yards passing on 43 attempts. Jayhawks moved the football for 430 yards, rushing for 165 on 35 carries. Jason Bean completed 59% and lost 9.8 yards per attempt. He had 4 touchdowns but 2 picks on the season, being a 64% completion rate, 10.4 yards per attempt. Baylor fell to 3-3 with their 43-40 road defeat at West Virginia, a season high 590 yards for the Bears. But in this one, 169 yards rushing on 35 carries. But the Baylor defense allowed 5.5 yards per rush, 283 passing yards on 37 attempts. Kyron Drones entered for an injured Blake Shapen and completed 50% of his passes for 6.8 yards per attempt. In limited action, Drones 61% completions, 9.5 yards per attempt. Drones the concern at quarterback as Shapen, the hit he took last week to the head with that cushion really looked bad. Being a backup with starting experience, player will be Kansas at plus 9. Iowa versus Ohio State college football pick. This one goes off here on Saturday. Iowa fell to 3-3 after their 9-6 road defeat at Illinois. Another poor offensive performance for the Hawkeyes, posting just 222 yards. They ran for only 52 yards on 30 carries. On defense, Iowa did allow 200 rushing yards to the final line on 45 carries. Spencer Petras completed 50% in the loss. He had a pick, 4.7 yards per attempt. This season, Petras, season lows, 54% completion, 5.8 yards per attempt. Now, Ohio State 6-0. They rout Michigan State on the road. On the road, they do this 49-20. The Buckeyes move the football for 614 yards, 237 rushing on 46 carries. They stuffed the Spartans offense for 7 rushing yards and 195 passing on 28 attempts. C.J. Stroud completed 81% of his passes in that game, 6 touchdowns, a pick, about 14 yards per attempt on the season. Stroud over 70% completion rate, 11 yards per attempt. The Buckeyes' speed and execution on offense will be too much for Iowa. Just can't trust the Hawkeyes' offense to produce much. The player will be Ohio State at minus 29. UL Monroe and Army college football pick. This one goes off on Saturday. UL Monroe 2-5 after their 41-34 road defeat at South Alabama. The Warhawks covered behind 438 yards of offense. Run game produced only 67 on 31 carries. Defensively, UL Monroe surrendered 619 yards to the Jaguars with 5 yards per rush and 420 passing yards on 33 attempts. Chandler Rogers, 74% completion rate, 4 touchdowns, a pick, and 13.7 yards per attempt. Career highs this season for Rogers, 70% completions, 8.6 yards per attempt. Now, Army, they're 2-4 with their 42-17 home win to FCS Colgate, gaining 467 yards. Now, their past 2 games against FBS teams, the Black Knights averaged only 12 points at Wake Forest and home to Georgia State. No wins against FBS teams, with both wins coming against the FCS. Army defense struggling stopping the run and pass. Rogers' improvement for the Warhawks. The key here, the play here will be UL Monroe at plus the 7.5. Houston versus Navy college football pick for Saturday. Houston 3-3 after their 33-32 road win at Memphis. Cougars a season high 463 yards, 97 rushing on 23 carries. They did allow about 4 yards per rush in that game with 282 passing yards on 34 attempts. Now Clayton Tune, 63% completion, 6.4 yards per attempt. He had 3 touchdowns and a pick. Season-wide, Tune, 65% completion rate, 7.2 yards per attempt. Navy fell to 2-4 after their 40-34 road defeat at SMU. Midshipman a season high of 510 yards with 372 rushing on 77 carries. On defense, Navy surrendered 336 passing yards to the Mustangs on 27 attempts. Ty Lavatai completed 43% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 6.6 yards per attempt. On the year, Levitai, 47% completions, 2.8 yards per rush attempt. The midshipmen back-to-back games where they've averaged 500 yards of offense. Head-to-head, the overs come in 6 and 7 in this meeting. The play will be Houston Navy over the total of 53. Syracuse versus Clemson college football pick for Saturday. Syracuse moved to 6-0 with that 24-9 home win to NC State. Orange gained 389 yards in the win with 179 rushing on 30 carries. They limited the Wolfpack to 255 yards, who were utilizing a backup quarterback. Garrett Schrader completed 64% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 8.4 yards per attempt. On the season, Schrader career highs 70% completion rate, 9.5 yards per attempt. Clemson 7-0 after their 34-28 road win at Florida State. Tigers moved the ball for 377 yards, only 4 yards to carry on the ground. They did allow the Seminoles 460 yards, giving up 206 rushing on 34 attempts. DJ Ugalalai completed an ACC conference game high. This is against the ACC conference. This was the best game he's had against a conference opponent this year. 65% completion rate, 3 touchdowns, 8.8 yards per attempt. Orange has had only one road game this season, and that was UConn in week 2. They've had close wins at home to Purdue and Virginia and beat NC State, who were without their senior quarterback. Tigers holding opponents to just 2.9 yards per rush and doing a good job getting off the field on third down. The play here will be on Clemson here at -13. That was our college football pick show here for Monday. We got you 8 games from week 8. We'll have a lot more here. There's 53 FBS versus FBS games. We'll do them in 6 parts. Part 1 here for Monday. We'll get part 2 for tomorrow. I'm Tony T, back with more picks. Don't forget to visit our site, Tony'sPicks.com, for more free picks. And again, if watching videos isn't convenient for you, you can always check us out on our podcast. Every pick in podcast form on the Tony's Picks podcast. Search Tony's Picks on all major platforms. I'm Tony T, back later with more free picks.